Although last season's filming may have ended, the drama is just beginning. There are rumors that Yandy Smith suffered a complete mental breakdown while filming scenes for the next season. And yes, Shilly, it was all captured on camera. Production people claim that it went far beyond tears and that there were genuine emotions expressed. Insiders claim that a heated argument with Rasheeda drove Yandy to her breaking point. And that Jessica Dime is the one who said, "This ain't the surface-level shade we're used to." Personal secrets were revealed, old scars were reopened, and Yandy's composure broke down in front of everyone. What's even stranger is that fans who have seen snippets of the leaked tape are calling it the most people who witnessed the intense breakdown in love and hip-hop history say that even the producers were shaken, asking, "Do we keep filming Type Rattle?" So, what actually happened between these three? And why is everyone saying that this could have a lasting impact on Yandy's storyline? Stay tuned because we're going to dissect every messy detail that started on a single day. Everything was supposed to be straightforward, a quick catch-up, few light camera rolls, then everyone would go home. But when Yandy entered the boutique lounge, she was carrying more than just a Coach bag and a new mani. She had been dealing with weeks of stress, hadn't slept well, and had been hearing rumors about strange stares backstage. Rasheeda and Jessica Dime was planning behind her back, criticizing every move she made, and she wasn't included in the late night text thread that kept her name in the headlines, not for her achievements, but for other people's drama. She came early and told her assistant she needed some alone time, so she sat on the plush couch, took deep breaths of artificially scented air, and tried studying the flutter in her stomach. The mech pack squeezed at her waist to remind her that she was on display. The crew rushed around her like fleas, putting cameras on tripods, adjusting lights, and testing the audio, unaware of the storm they had unleashed. Producers exchanged discreet glances, noticing the shift, but hoping it would pass because today's script was meant to be lighthearted. Yandy talking to Rasheeda about fashion and the upcoming cast trip. But Yandy didn't seem to want to engage in light conversation. Instead, she scrolled through her phone screen, her eyes flickering in frustration as each notification was muted. But she knew someone was speaking. When Rasheeda finally entered, she was calm and almost regal, wearing a cream shirt. Rasheeda, wearing matching trousers that contrasted with Yandy's edgy streetwear, hugged the director, smiled pleasantly at the crew, and then gave Yandy a quick nod that was devoid of warmth but acknowledged her. "Hey," she said in a calm voice, hands folded, and the director didn't react. Rasheeda took her seat, crossed her legs, and pretended everything was fine, despite the dense air and the prickly tension. "Like static electricity, we good?" "Ada," Yandy asked after a minute in a tone that was deceptively casual. Rasheeda's brow raised. "Yeah," and she responded slowly, "We good?" But she avoided looking into Yandy's tiny eyes. Yandy then jumped. "Really?" she asked, sitting up taller and meeting Rasheeda's lips. "I'm not sure what you're talking about," she added, leaning forward. "Don't play foolish and don't act like you own the facts." The director, who was still silent, held out a hand to indicate rolling. And cameras caught every movement of her face as Jessica Dime walked in, whistling a tune while holding foam. She then slid onto the sofa next to Rasheeda, tapping her ankle as she looked at each other. Yandy then gave Rasheeda a sidelong, playful look before asking, but her tone was questioning. She held Jessica's gaze and said, "I want to know why y'all think it's cute to talk about me behind my back." Jessica shrugged. "What we want." Yandy stood, her voice rising but controlled, shattering the quiet facade of the lounge. "And you'll just assume I one single quotes discover that I will not hear the quotes, anecdotes, and clips you will feed to bloggers." Rasheeda became uneasy and said, "I'm not feeding anybody anything fine." Then he explained why I keep hearing your names together. We discussed my personal life as though it were entertainment, as though I had no family to worry about. Lastly, the director said, "Let's take a little break." "Break?" But Yandy interrupted her. "No breaks," she said. "We're done now." The room froze, cameras rolled, grits paused, Assistants looked anxiously at one another, and the only sound was Rasheeda's rapid breathing. "I've been dealing with enough." "Off-camera stress," Yandy said in a heavy voice. "Might please excuse me if I don't find it amusing, but my son has been out of control at school. And that's on top of the ridiculous demands on my time." "You're the problem, Yandy," Jessica said with a loud bark. "Because you always make things about you see." Rasheeda drew closer, her eyes flickering with regret or fear that no one could see. "Stop looking for villains where there aren't any," she muttered. "I never said anything about you, but somebody did," this said, pointing. "I don't have to have receipts to know it's you too. I feel it." She crossed her arms for a while, and the OWN director cleared her throat, eyes wide, and ordered a break. Workers scurried to reset the lighting while producers huddled in a corner reporting urgent issues to bosses. Everyone understood that Yandy was sitting on a seat in the July sun, her arms wrapped around her, still trembling, while her friend sat next to her, helping her drink water and tissue, talking quietly about ground rules, blocking your socials, and telling no one else on set how you feel. Yandy nodded slowly, but her thoughts were racing. She felt deceived and exposed, but oddly empowered. She realized that her breaking point had also been her breaking free. The world would see her weakness, but they would also see her strength. Meanwhile, inside the lounge, someone claimed that the assistant producer, who could hear everything outside, had a hidden camera recording audio, and that, as a result, every off-camera conversation was possibly on film. The atmosphere was thick with unpleasant tension, and the team whispered about how hard it was to film without cutting. Yandy's tears looked fresh, and Rasheeda's composure had totally collapsed. Executives and the showrunner met behind the set a few minutes later to decide whether to include this breakdown in the first episode or save it for a mid-season cliffhanger. One producer said it was too damaging to Yandy's reputation, while others said it was the kind of private meeting they needed to have to erase their phone footage before anyone else could see it. Raw reality that made the show a ratings magnet. The final decision was made in the first episode, but it changed the context. Initially, Yandy would act strong, but then sad flashbacks would cut in, creating the most tension that night. Word spread quickly on social media accounts connected to the show, and rumors about the Yandy crying moment went viral. Fan forums heated up divisions, developed Team Yandy, Team Rasheeda, Team Dime. The following morning, popular topics revealed Yandy's breakdown, surpassing even the show's official notifications pinged on cast members' phones non-stop in her hotel room. And Yandy stared at her. Did Yandy just expose Rasheeda and Jessica's lies with mysterious comments? Wait until you hear what they whispered. Reflection. The smudged makeup acting as a reminder of how real everything had become. She called her manager, composed but determined to maintain control, and wrote a message to her publicist. Sis. She then chose to record a short video on her phone, speaking to her followers directly, tears glistening as she said, "The tape will appear." But the underlying while Rasheeda and Jessica conferred. In Rasheeda's trailer, Rasheeda paced, replaying Yandy's charges in her mind, wondering when she would open up. The story was more in-depth, focusing on her journey as a mother, businesswoman, and wife, fighting behind closed doors. She promised honesty, vulnerability, and encouraged followers to join her beyond the drama. Things had gotten so bad that Jessica collapsed onto the plush couch. Rasheeda stopped pacing and glanced at her phone, scrolling through the popular posts about her betrayal. She shuddered at the irate comments that demanded that she apologize and take responsibility for her actions. "We need a plan," Jessica says gently, nodding, and we regret how things happened, but we never intended to upset Yandy. And we hope we can all heal together. The cast was on edge as Yandy's video from her hotel went live at around the same time on her own channels for the followers who have always supported me. It's quick quickly gathered hundreds of thousands of views, with some applauding her bravery and others calling it a publicity stunt. It teased Yandy's most trying time but said that misconceptions would surface. Filming then resumed, approached with a newfound resolve. Brow furrowed, eyes steely, and Rasheeda and Jessica gave her forced smiles. The cameras captured stiff embraces and hesitant looks, so they decided to record a reconciliation scene in which Yandy accepted flowers from Rasheed to Jessica and offered to embrace him. But the unease was visible as the cameras lumbered on fake smiles and darted during lunch. Yandy had a private conversation with her husband. She took his hand and spoke softly, admitting that she felt deceived and that being vulnerable had been both frightening and inspiring. He reminded her of her strength and encouraged her to not apologize for showing emotion. Later that afternoon, Rasheeda called Yandy to apologize for her feelings. Having been prepared in advance, Rasheeda talked about the importance of honesty, friendship, and loyalty. Yandy quietly replied, "I need you to show, not tell, words are nothing without actions." Rasheeda stopped promising to prove it, and Jessica closed her phone and concentrated on the day shoot on set. Where there were many cameras, Rasheeda arrived. Her hair pulled back, her expression tight and unreadable, and she walked past Yandy in the hallway without saying anything. Later, Jessica put on makeup, her eyes reading from 2 late-night reads of comments. The stylist offered her coffee, and she hardly looked up as producers hovered, ready to plant their own seeds by asking questions. The designer introduced colorful dyes and blank shirts as the cameras rolled. At first, Yami moved with expert ease, teaching Jessica folding techniques and cracking. Raising the question, "Do you think this fight is real?" after hearing those leaks? Shandy's scene that day was meant to be a light-hearted piece showcasing her and Jessica dyeing tie-dye shirts. Jokes aside, Jessica reached across to Yandy, paused as her fingers touched hers, her eyes narrowed. And Yandy asked in a sorrowful voice, "Why'd you let that clip slip out?" Jessica stopped, her stained fingers lingering over the bucket. "I didn't," she said in an unsteady voice. Yandy shook her head. Someone leaked it, and Rasheeda appeared in the doorway. Drawn by the sudden tension, she took in the scene, showing Yandy standing straight and Jessica holding a shirt drenched in yellow dye. The assistant director, Rasheeda, pulled it in mid-call, crossed her arms, and perhaps he, too, could solve the problem. She said, "This is off camera," but her tone cut more sharply than any blade. "Did you leak it?" she asked, and Rasheeda's eyes narrowed, "But I know you had access." Jessica's face paled as she retreated, splattering her thigh on the ground. The crew finally blinked, and someone cried, "Cut!" "I've had enough," Yandy yelled, echoing the silence that followed Jessica and Rasheeda's panicked exchange. But no one moved to clean up because they were too occupied. Yandy felt a surge of anger she hadn't felt before as she grabbed the crate of dyes and yanked it forward, along with the jars clattering to the ground, spilling colors across the hardwood. A production assistant tried to follow her, whispering apologies, but Yandy brushed past, leaning against the wall and breathing heavily as her adrenaline surged. The set assistant crept forward to collect the broken glass, but Yandy ignored it and stormed away, leaving rainbow stains behind her footsteps as she finally bounded into the corridor. She felt alive, lucid and unstoppable as she and Jessica ducked into a supply closet inside. "We can't keep doing this," Rasheeda said, slapping the dye spill on her shoe. "Our careers are on the line," she hissed. "What do we do?" Jessica pressed her back against the wall. In a state of complete panic, Yandy took out her phone and posted a simple status that read, "I stand for." Since no hashtags or emojis were used, it received thousands of likes and retweets in a matter of minutes. She watched as fans rallied, pledged their allegiance, and conjectured about her truth. Later that afternoon, the cast reassembled for a confessional segment, with cameras pointing at empty chairs as each cast member was called in. Yandy sat in the makeshift following her confession. Rasheeda sat sternly poised and read it carefully. Chosen passage as the booth lights dimmed, and she said, "Tired of not being heard. tired of pretending everything's fine when it's not. I'm tired of seeing the people I trusted use my pain as entertainment." The camera lingered on her face, capturing every emotion in its raw, unfiltered form. Jessica's turn came last, and she fiddled with the mic, cleared her throat, and then gave a shaky apology. "I know I contributed to her pain, and I let my ambition blind me. I'm sorry, Yandy." The camera caught her. "I regret how my words were perceived to hurt Yandy. I value and respect her strength." Her tone was steady and practiced, and it contrasted sharply with Yandy's rough edges. When the confessionals aired that week, viewers saw the juxtaposition of Yen's unguarded truth, Rasheeda's polished regret, Jessica's nervous remorse, and vulnerability, but many viewers felt it was half-hearted. The internet erupted in arguments over loyalty, authenticity, and who the true villain was, with the producers taking pride in the spike in ratings. Filming genuine emotion. But behind the scenes, the division had only widened. Rasheeda, hurt by criticism, retreated into smaller circles, planning her next move, while Jessica, shaken by the backlash, wondered if she had survived the storm. As the sun set over Atlanta, the cast boarded their trailers, each of them bearing the burden of the she said, eyes darting to the cameras. "We just discussed boutique strategy. Stop it. You two have been conspiring, saying things, planting stories, leaking." The spilt dye had stained more than just the floor. It had colored every relationship and every motive. With part of the truth now public, the rest was waiting in the shadows, ignorant of the underlying animosity burning in the air. She gave a cheerful hello to everyone, but stopped when she saw Yandy's position. Yandy didn't flinch. She met Jessica's cool, steadfast stare, and she was glad you could. "Come." She squeezed her lips together, fighting the quiver growing in her neck. Jessica whispered softly, "What's going on?" Her tone was dripping with fake worry, and she asked, "You know exactly what's going on?" Yandy responded, "I'm tired of hearing comments about how I fake it for the camera, how I'm too dramatic, how I can't take pressure. Did you ever consider the possibility that I'm crying because I'm human?" Her words struck like stones in calm water. Crew moved and lit boba bum cables with ease. Rasheed opened her mouth and then shut it while glancing at Jessica. "If you feel that way, bring me receipts," she said, avoiding whispers. With her chest constricted, she stood slowly and pushed back her chair. "Got more than enough," she said in a voice filled with pain. "And I'm done acting like I don't know at that moment." The director hesitated, but the crew felt gold after exchanging staircases. The lights were still on when the call was interrupted. Tears filled Yandy's eyes as her heart pounded. She sensed it in her eyes.